Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorin. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokif kefufim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokah haaretz al hamayim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechim mitzadei gaver. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asali kol tzarki. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael b'gvura. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten le'yayev koach. Let's go to 113. We're in the holy month of Elul. Do you feel it? You may be seated. The air vibrates a little differently. LeDavid Adonai Ori Vishi Mimeira Adonai Me'oz Chayai Mimi Efchad. Right in the middle, in the sort of darker text. Achat sha'alti meit Adonai ota avakesh. Achat sha'alti meit Adonai ota avakesh. Shivti beveit Adonai kol yemei chayai. Lachazot benoam Adonai ulevaker behechalo. On the bottom, on 113. Lulehem anti l'roba tuach Adonai be'eretz chaim kaveh el Adonai chazak ve'ametz libecha ve'kaveh el Adonai. Turn to page 121. This is the mourner's Kaddish. Please, if you're in mourning, please stand. Yikadal v'yitkadash merabah. Be'alma divrach lirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael v'agala v'izman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach leolam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yidromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kutsha brichu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu be'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'ramav hu yaseh shalom aleinu be'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
For those of you who may be new to Bnai Israel or not been to the synagogue, you're getting two different books. The lightly pink one is the prayer book. That's what we're using right now. The larger book that says Eitz Chaim on it has the Torah reading, the biblical readings in it. So we'll use that later. Sorry.
Thank you. Page 122 for Baruch She'amar. We usually stand if you're able. Baruch She'amar v'haya olam, Baruch hu, Baruch oseh bereshit, Baruch Shemo, Baruch omer ve'oseh, Baruch hu, Baruch gozer umekayem, Baruch Shemo, Baruch merachem al haaretz, Baruch hu, Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch Shemo, Baruch mishalem sachar tov lireyav, Baruch hu, Baruch alad v'kayam la'netzach, Baruch Shemo, Baruch podeh u'matzil, Baruch hu Baruch Shemo, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, ha'el ha'barachamanu mol b'fi ha'amam, u'shabach b'far b'shil chasidav yavadav, u'shirei David avdecha, ne'alech Adonai Eloheinu, b'shbechot v'zmirot, negadel chan shabachim v'yachad n'eskishim, v'namlicha malkeinu Eloheinu, yachid chai olamim, melech b'shibachim v'yadiat shmo gadol, Baruch atah Adonai melech me'ulal batishbachot. Please turn to page 136. Oh, you may be seated. Ashrei Ashrei V'techa od yalucha sela. Ashrei Shecha V'lo. Ashrei Am Shadonai Eloham. Tila leDavid. Aramim Chelo HaMelech. Baruch Hashemcha le'olam va'ed. V'chol yom ha'barchecha ve'la shimcha le'olam va'ed. Gadol Adonai Olam Ehod, v'li gdulato in cheker, dor l'dor yishabach ma'asecha, u'gvuratecha yagidu, hadar kavod hodecha, v'divrei niflotecha asicha, v'zuz noratecha yomeru, u'dulatcha asaprena, zecher rabtucha yabiu, v'tzidchatcha yiranenu, chanun barachum Adonai, erech ha'payim u'tachased, Tov Adonai lakol, brachama b'kol ma'asav, Yuduch Adonai kol ma'asecha, v'chasidecha yibarchucha, kevod malchutcha yomeru, u'gvuratcha yidaberu, Yodia libnei adam gvurotav, u'chvod hadar malchuto, malchutcha malchut kol amim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador, somech Adonai al kol hanoflim, v'zokef l'chol ha'ktufim, einei kol elecha yisaberu, v'yatanotin lahem et achlam b'ito, poteach et yadecha, u'masbiach chocha ratzon, Tzadik Adonai b'chol drachav, v'chasid b'chol ma'asav, karov Adonai l'chol korav, l'chol asher yikra'u be'emet, ritzon yirav yaseh, v'et shabatan yishma v'yoshin, shomer Adonai kol ohavav, v'et kol hashayim yashmid, tilat Adonai yedaber pi, v'yibarek kol basar shem kachar le'olam va'ed, v'anachnu nevarech ya, me'atav yad olam, hallelujah. Please move to page 143. And please stand, right? Please stand, 143, while we recount the amazing Exodus. Az yashir Moshe u'bnei Yisrael et hashira hazot l'Adonai vayomru le'mor ashira l'Adonai ki goga sus v'rofo rama bayam ozi v'zimradya vayehi li lishua Ze'eli be'an vehu Elohei aviv aromenu Adonai Adonai Shemo Merkavo pero b'chelo yarabayam Umivchar shalishav tubu be'am suf Tehomot yachziumu yardu mitzvot kmo aven Yemincha Adonai nedari b'koach Yemincha Adonai tirat oyev On page 144. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Page 145. Nishmat kol chai tevarech et shemcha Adonai Eloheinu v'ruach kol basar tevarech Eloheinu v'achenu tamid min. And you may be seated. אין אנחנו מספיקים להודות לך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, ולברך את שמך לך מאלף אלפי אלפים, וריבי רבבות פעמיים הטובות שעשית עם אבותינו ואמותינו ועמנו. Page 147, right at the little caret. Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatu ranenu tzadikim v'adonai l'sharim navatila v'fi sharim titalal uvdivrei tzadikim titbarach uv'lishon chasidim titromam uv'kerev kadoshim titkadash uv'machalot ribavot amcha beit Yisrael V'rinai parshim chamalkeinu v'chol dor v'ador shekein chovat kol yitzrim lefanecha Adonai Eloheinu v'lei avatinu v'imotinu lo do lale lo shabech lefer lo remen lajer levarech lale ulkales al kol divrei shira v'tishbachot David ben Ishai avdecha meshichecha. Page 148. Yishtabach shimcha le'ad malkeinu Ha'el ha'melech ha'gadol v'ha'kadosh b'shamayim u'ba'aretz Ki lechaneh Adonai Eloheinu v'elahei avatenu v'imotenu Shir u'shvacha ha'lel v'zimra ozu memshala Netzach gedula gvorati la v'tiferet kedusha malchut Brachot v'hodaot me'atav yad olam Baruch atah Adonai El melech gadol v'tishbachot El hodaot Adonai niflot Habocher b'shirei zimra Melech echei ha'olamim. Page 148 in the middle. Yitgadal ve'yitgadash shemei Rabbah Ve'alma divrach irtei v'yamlich machutei Ve'chayechon u'v'yomechon U'chayei techol beit Yisrael Bagala bagala U'vizman kariv v'imeru Amen Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach Le'olam u'lo me'omaya Yitbarach Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitram v'naseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudesha brichu Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Damiran be'alma v'meru Amen. Page 149, please rise for the Baruch. Baruch hu et Adonai ha'mevorach. Baruch Adonai ha'mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam yotzer u'vorei choshech oseh shalom u'vorei et hakol. Hakol yaducha v'hakol yishbachucha v'hakol yomru ein kadosh kadonai hakol yirmamucha sel yotzer hakol. You may be seated. Ein kirkacha ve'ein zulatcha efes biltecha midom elach ve'ein kirkacha Adonai Eloheinu ve'olam hazeh ve'ein zulatcha malkeinu chai olam haba efes biltecha golenu limot hamashiach ve'ein dom elecha moshienu litchiyat hametim.
Please join in as Jonah leads us in El Adon on page 151.
El Adon al kol hamasim baruch u'mvorach b'fi kol neshama gadol v'tuvo malei olam darutu sovev b'moto hamitga'el hayot hakadosh v'nedu amen zichu mishor lifnei kiso chesed v'rachamim lifnei kodo Tovim me'orah shebara Eloheinu tzaram b'da'at b'bina u'b'skel koach u'burach naten b'hem yo'onoshim v'kerkega Oh, נותנים לשמו סברינה, לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש, ויזרע אור רעה, והפיץ זרועות הבנה, שלום הלימו, כל צבא מערב, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ואבנים וחיות קודש.
Page 152. La'el asher shabbat kol ma'asim b'yom hashvi'ah Yit'ala v'yashav al kiso kvado tiferet ata liyom ha'menucha oneh kara liyom ha'shabbat Zeh shabbat shana yom hashvi'ah Tibarach Moshienu al Shabbat Maseh Adecha Ve'al Morei Or She'asita Yifarucha Selah. Page 153. Tibarach Tzurenu Malkeinu V'Go'aleinu Borek Kedoshim Yishtabach Shem Chalei Ad Malkeinu Tzur Kulam Ahubim Kulam Burim Kulam Giburim B'chulam osim be'ema bira v'son konam, b'chulam potchim et pihem b'ktusha v'torah, b'shira b'zimram, v'farachim v'shabachim, v'farim maritzim, matishim mamlichim, et shem ayel hamelech hagadol v'gibor v'narash kadoshu, b'chulam mekablim aleihen ha'amoma, malchut shamayim zemizeh, v'notnim reshut zela zela, tishli yitzor menachat ruach, v'sacha brura, v'nima kadosha, kulam ke'echad, onim b'yomrim b'ira, Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot b'chol haaretz kavodo. V'ofanim b'chayot HaKadosh b'rash gadol minasim l'matzrafim baruch Adonai mimkomo. La'el baruch nimo titenu melech v'chavachayim zmirod yomeinu shifachot shivnu kizu l'vadu po'el gvorot oseh harashot ba'al milchamot zorek tzedakot matzmiach yeshua borei refuot noratilot Adonai niflaot am chadesh b'tuvo b'chol yom tamim ma'aseh bereshit Ka'amor lo sa'orim dolim ki la'le'olam chasto Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir v'nizkeh kulanu mehera le'oro Or chadash al Tzion ta'ir v'nizkeh kulanu mehera le'oro Baruch ata Adonai yotzer ha'meorot Ava Rabbah.
Ava Rabbah Tanim Adonai Eloheinu Hamalta aleinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Ha'avur avoteinu, Shabachnu Becha, Shemachnu Becha, Avinu Malkeinu, V'Avinu K'Chaim, Ken Zechomeinu V'Avdeinu, Avinu Talmud Torah Techa V'cha'erenu b'Toratecha v'dabei f'beinu b'mitzvotecha v'yacheg b'levavenu yachava v'yira et shemecha v'lo negosh le'olam va'ed v'lo negosh le'olam va'ed ki b'shem kodeshecha Gadol Hanara Batachnu, Nagila Benismacha, Nagila Benismacha Vishruatecha, V'chavinu l'shalom, me'arba kanchot ha'aretz, v'to'imenu komemiyut, komemiyut le'artzenu, ki Eloah Yeshuatata, Ubanu b'charta mikol ha'mashon, v'kerov tanu, v'shimcha hagadol, Selah be'emet, lechodot lecha, u'yachecha, u'yachecha be'ahava, Baruch atah Adonai, Albuquerque Bnai Israel be'ahava. Amen. Page 155 for Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Be'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, b'chol labcha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hakarim ha'ela, asher anoki mitzavecha, hayom olavecha, v'shinamtam levanecha, v'tivaret shalom, v'shiftecha v'mitecha, u'vechtecha b'derech, u'shokbecha u'kumecha, u'shartam le'ot al yedecha, v'hayu l'totafot b'neinecha, u'ptachtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'b'sharecha. Page 156. Do the second. We're going to do the second paragraph silently. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe Lemor, Daber el Bnei Yisrael v'atar lehem, v'ratzu lachem tzitzit, al kanfei mitlechem v'shorsham, v'natnu al tzitzit, hakanah v'tzilketer, vayahem v'tzitzit, v'yitem v'tov. U'sartem v'kol Adonai, v'asitem v'tam, v'le'tatu acharei v'lechem, asher t'amim v'amerechem, l'man tizkeru, v'asitem v'kol v'tam, yitem keroshim v'leihem, ani Adonai Elohim, asher tzidketem le'eretz Mitzrayim, li'yotzachem Elohim, ani Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim emet.
Page 157. Emet Elohei Olam Malkeinu Tzor Yaakov Magen Yishenu L'dor v'dor hu kayam u'shmo kayam v'chison achon malchuto v'mashal liad kayamet u'dvarav chayim v'chayim v'namim v'nachadim le'alo l'mi l'mi l'alo v'jenim v'matinu. Emet b'munachot v'al tahor. Emet shetahu Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu. V'imotenu malkeinu malkeinu avotenu v'imotenu v'goaleinu goel avotenu v'imotenu. Yotzreinu tzur yeshuatenu podenu matzilenu. Me'olam shemecha en Elohim zulatecha. Ezrat avotenu v'imotenu atahu me'olam. Ma'agenu Mashiach. Last two lines of 157. Emet, 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 atahu rishon. Emet, 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 atahu acharon. Umi baladecha ilanu melech goelu Moshiach. Umi baladecha ilanu melech goelu Moshiach. Move on, 158. Mitzrayim galtanu Adonai Eloheinu beit avadim peditanu. Tilo lelo yom baruch Moshe u'Miriam u'bnei Israel lechanu shira b'simcha rabah v'yamru chulam mi chamocha b'elim Adonai mi kamocha neder b'kodesh Norati lo tosef eleh Shira charasha shimchu gedolim l'shimcha l'schat hayam Yachad kulam hodu v'imlichu v'yamru Adonai imloch leolam va'ed Zur Yisrael kuma be'ezrat Yisrael Uvdechenu mecha Yehuda be'Yisrael Go aleinu Adonai tzvaot shemo Kedosh Yisrael Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. And we'll do a repetition, so feel free to go through silently or the meditations of your heart, and then we'll repeat, starting on page 159. please keep davening if you have more to say. And we're going to start with a repetition on 159. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, v'Konei Hakol, v'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, Umevi Goel Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo v'Yahava, Melech Ozer Ufoked Umoshia Umagen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham Ufoked Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayim Eitim Atarav Le'Hoshia, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayim Eitim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Berofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar, Armicha Mocha Ba'al Gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Memit Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'neman atah lachayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. Page 161. Nekadesh et shimcha ve'olam, kishem shmati shimoto b'shmei marom, kakatu v'yad mi'echa, v'karazel ze v'yamar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai Tzvaot, Melech ha'aretz kivodo. Az b'kol rash gadol v'adir chazak mashmimam. Az b'kol rash gadol, adir v'chazak mashmim kol, minasim l'matzrafim, l'matam baruch yomeru, baruch kavod Adonai mimkomo. Mimkocham al-gil t'v'yamatim l'chalein al-kamah. Mimkomcha malkeinu tofia, v'timloch aleinu kol machakim anachnu lach, matai timloch b'tzion b'karov yameinu, le'olam va'ed tishkon, titgada v'titgadash, b'toch Yerushalayim yircha, l'dor v'ador, l'netzach netzachim, ve'eineinu tirena malchutecha, Kadavar ha'amor b'shirei uzecha al yedei David al yedei Meshiach tzidkecha Yimloch Adonai le'olam Elohai Tzion ledor vador hallelujah ledor vador nagid God lecha, ledor vador nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, Kirshatcha nakdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed, ledor vador nagid God lecha, ledor vador nagid God lecha, ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata, ki el melech gadol v'kadosh ata, Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh. You may be seated. We're going to move on to 162. Yismach Moshe b'matnat chelko, ki even eman karata lo, kalil tfir parshonatata b'amdo lefanecha al har Sinai, u'shnei lukot avanim hurid biyado, v'chatu bahem shmirat Shabbat, v'chen katu b'toratecha. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, lasot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam berit olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, beini uvein b'nei Yisrael, oti le'olam, ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim, ve'et ha'aretz, u'vayom hashvi'i, shava vayi nafash, u'vayom hashvi'i, shava vayi nafash. Page 163. Kili Israel, Chanatatu ve'aval Azariah, Kovash Tavam v'charta, Amik Sheshu Yakulam Yismael v'yitan gumi tuvecha, v'ashvi'i v'rasita v'vikdiash tochem, datem yoto karata, zechel L'maaseh Bereshit, Eloheinu v'Eloheinu b'motenu, ritzei b'mnuchatenu, kodshenu mitzotecha, v'tenchalkenu v'toratecha, sab'enu mituvecha, v'samchenu v'shuatecha, v'taher libenu l'avdecha b'emet, v'anchalenu Adonai b'avar ritzon Shabbat kodshecha, v'enucha v'Yisrael mikshei shemecha, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'Shabbat, ritzei Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael b'tfilatam, v'ashev et erva v'yirveitecha, Tfilatam be'avat tigabel b'ratzon, u'tehila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. V'dechazen einenu b'shuva l'tzion b'rachamim baruch atah Adonai, hamakazir shchinato l'tzion. 164. Modim anachnu lach shet Adonai leinu. U'matinu le'olam e'atzur chayim again shvenu ato l'torah dechan svertetecha v'chayim esuprim me'edecha v'al nishmo pe'akdulach v'al nisach shvachayim Totek v'chayder v'cher tobi nalach rachmech amrechen ki lo tamu chasadech me'olam kivinu lach ve'al kulam yitbarach shimcha malkenu tamid le'olam va'ed ve'chol chayim yiducha sela ve'alu et shimcha be'emet hayel shuatenu v'ezrotenu sela baruch atah Adonai ato shimcha lochana elodot. Page 165. Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu baruchenu b'ravacham shuleshet b'torah v'tuva haktuva al yedei Moshe avdecha ha'amora mipi Aaron uvanav kohanim kedoshecha ka'amor yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Middle of 165. Sim shalom tova uvracha ba'olam. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed rachamim aleinu al kol Yisrael amecha. Barcheinu avinu kulanu ke'echad be'or panecha. Sim shalom tova uvracha ba'olam. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Ki bi'or panecha natata lanu Adonai Eloheinu Torah chayim v'avat chesed u'tzedaka uvracha v'rachamim v'chayim v'shalom. Sim shalom tova uvracha ba'olam. Sim shalom tova uvracha. V'tov beinecha levarach et amecha Yisrael v'chol eit u'v'chol shah b'shlomecha. Baruch atah Adonai hamvarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Page 166, the last two lines. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, Veimeru, Veimeru, Amen. Page 167, Kaddish Shalem. Yikara v'yikara shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirtei, ve'amlich malchutei, v'chayachon b'yomachon, v'chayedecho b'Yisrael, v'agala b'zman kari, v'imeru, Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam olam me'omaya yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitbar b'nram minaseh, v'yidadar v'yidaleh v'yidalash min kudsha brichu, le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechmata, damiran b'alma v'imeru, Amen. Titkabas lo tonvo, ton de chol Yisrael, kadambo hani v'shmaya v'imeru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chayim aleni v'kol Yisrael v'imeru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom aleni v'kol Yisrael v'imeru, Amen.
Yasher kochech. Lovely job. We turn now to the service for taking the Sefer Torah from the Ark. We call forward proudly our bar mitzvah, Jonah Gutow, and his parents, who will present him with his talit, symbolic of adulthood and symbolic also of his becoming our shliach tzibor, our leader in service and prayer at this time.
And also symbolic of another layer to get me really, really steaming.
Okay, you want to take your coat off? Put your one in. Okay, Jonah, today we present to you this talit that was made especially for you. It is made from material from your grandmother's, both your Nana Kathy's wedding dress and Grammy's wedding gloves, as well as material from a Grammy's scarf. It has symbols on it that represent you, your family, and your Jewish tradition. And we hope and we pray that you continue to be wrapped in the warmth and love of your family and your Jewish tradition. Love you.
We now call forward Jonah's grandparents, and also Lisa and Jim, are they both strikers?
Yes.
Steiker, who will open and close the ark. We turn in our Sidurim and our prayer books to page 168.
En kamacha Elohim Adonai, v'en kamasecha malchutecha malchut kol olamim, u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'dor. Adonai melech, Adonai molech, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai Oslimo Yitain, Adonai Yivarech Etamu V'Shalom, Acharachamim, Heitim V'Bertzoncha Etzion, Tivnei Chomot Yerushalayim, Ki
Please rise as the ark is open.
Vayehi ben Saharon, Vayomer Moshe,
Kuma Adonai, ve'achusu oyevecha, ve'anusu mitzadecha, mipanecha, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, mitzion tetzei Torah, u'devar Adonai, mi'Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Baruch Shenatan continue on page 170 at the little arrow. One more page and go start A. Okay? A. Be'anarafes, Velishme Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Anayimar Tusbechan, Be'anarafes, Be'anarafes, Velishme Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Anayimar Tusbechan, Yerava Kadama, V'titavli v'horaita, v'tashli meshalim, v'libi, v'chol amak Yisrael, v'tav l'chaim, v'lishlam. Amen. Just as we pass our tradition from generation to generation, we'll now pass the Torah from which we will chant this morning from generation to generation. The red one. Okay? Father. We like to say it's not heavy, it's our Torah, but it can be heavy. Okay. Page 171.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Adonai Hagedurah, Hagedurah, V'Tifereth, V'Hanetzach, V'Haaretz Kiko, Ma'inu V'Haaretz L'cha Adonai, Amlacha V'Haminaseh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu L'adom Raglav Kadoshu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishtachavu Lehar Kodsho Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Torah Fi Valanu Moshe Torah Sivalanu Moshe Torah Sivalanu Moshe Torah Sivalanu Moshe. Okay, hold on a second. You can sit up here. Okay. don't really need it. Okay. Whatever makes you happy. Get that covered for me, please. You may be seated. Okay. We now turn to the Eitz Chaim, the Chumash. It contains the readings from the 5 books of Moses, what we call the Torah, which is this scroll right here. We are now nearing the end of our annual cycle of readings. We're in the book of Deuteronomy, a parsha we call Tavo. The Torah requires that we remember our own historical challenges as a people and that we give 1/10 of our produce to the Levites, who will not be given any land once we cross over to the land of Israel. And we also are required to provide food for the widows and the orphans. Our Torah reading this morning is found beginning on page 1142, beginning at verse 12. Okay, who's the first to lead? The people who have the Kohen Aliyah. V'yazor v'egin v'yoshila kochosim bo v'nomar amen hakol havgod Eloheinu nu kavod laTorah yamdu. Sarah bat Edel. Elio ben Edel.
Hannah bat Edel.
Hannah bat Edel.
No.
Rishon Baruch Shenatan Torah Li'amo Yisrael B'Kedushato V'yaten V'avekim Adonai Elohechem Chaim Kolchem Hayom. Okay. Come to my right, please. That'd be easier to do. Jeez. Take your tallis and kiss right there, please.
Baruch Hu es Adonai HaMbarach.
Baruch Adonai HaMbarach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMbarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim. V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Ata Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Hold that for me, please. There you go. Amen. Ki techalel laser et kol maaser tuatecha b'shana hashlishit shana hamaaser v'natata lelevi lager liatom ulmana v'yachlu b'sarecha v'saveu v'yamarta lifnei Adonai Elohecha barti hakodesh min habayim v'gam natati lelevi v'lager liatom umana kechol mitzavtecha asher tzivitani lo avarta mimitzvotecha v'lo shachachti lo achalti ba'ani mimenu v'lo va'arti mimenu v'tamei v'lo natati mimenu lamed shamati b'kol Adonai Elohai asiti kechol asher tzivitani hashkefa mimon kodshecha min hashamayim uvarek et amacha et Yisrael v'et adama asher natata lanu kasher nishavta la'avotenu eretz zavat kalav u'devash. Okay, thank you.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Asher natan lanu torato emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu, Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, go over to this side, please. We are reminded to observe God's laws so that we may be a blessed people. We continue on page 1143 at verse 16. People who have the Levi or the second Aliyah. You? Okay. Milo's coming up to read. But in the meantime, here's where you're going to kiss. I'm going to give a kiss at Hayom. Go ahead.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'nasan lanu es Torah. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. You. Right there.
Hayom hazeh Adonai Elohecha mitzavecha la'asot et hachukim ha'ele ve'et hamishpatim v'shamarta ve'asita otam b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha Adonai ha'emarta hayom lihiyot lecha le'Elohim v'lalechet birachav v'lishmor chukav u'mitzvotav u'mishpatav v'lishmoat b'kolo v'Adonai emircha hayom l'hiyot lo le'am segula kasher diber lach v'lishmor kol mitzvotav v'titcha elyon al kol hagoyim asher asa litila oshem otifaret v'lihiyotcha am kadosh l'Adonai Elohecha kasher diber.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nasan lanu Torah sames, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai nosein haTorah.
Amen. When we enter into the land of Israel, we are to build a special monument and carve on it the laws of the Torah to be a reminder to us to obey them. Page 1144 at verse 1. Where'd you finish? Up here, right? Right outside. Are you leaning?
Good job.
Or are you blessing? Who's the laner? You're leaning? Oh, okay. Yeah. Watch over here where you can see it.
We're on 27-1?
Yes, by outside, right? And these people have the honor? You're just leaning? Or you're doing the honor too?
No, I'm not doing the honor.
They're doing the honor. Okay, so I need to call them. Yamdu. Oh, everybody come around. Give us all Hebrew names. Yaakov ben Diner. Huh? Daniel ben Diner. Devorah bat Gutow. Eliyahu ben
Feinberg. Yaakov.
Ben Yaakov. Okay. Sarah bat Yaakov. Okay. Shlishi. Okay. All right. Here are the blessings, unless you already have them in your book. Somebody needs to take the talit and kiss it at the appropriate spot, which he will point out to you.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'charbanu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'yetzav Moshe v'ziknei Yisrael et ha'am lemor shamor et kol hamitzvah asher anochi mitzaveh etchem hayom. והיה ביום אשר תעברו את הירדן אל הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך והקמתה לך אבנים גדולות ושאת אותם בסיד וכתבת עליהם את כל דברי התורה הזאת בעברך למען אשר תבוא אל הארץ אשר אדוני אלוהיך נותן לך ארץ זבת חלב ודבש כאשר דבר אדוני אלוהי אבותיך לך.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah umet v'hayolam natan b'tokanu Baruch atah Adonai natan Torah.
Amen. Okay, thank you. You guys stay over there. We are also commanded to build an altar as a place from which we would offer the sacrifices. Page 1045 at verse 4. And who's reading the fourth one? Edward Feinberg. Who's Edward Feinberg? Okay. Is he remote?
Yes, I'm remote.
Ah, okay, good. All right, just want to make sure I wasn't missing anybody. Okay, so now I have to find it a second here. So I can point it out to you. We are at verse 4, which is... Wait. That wasn't the right place. Right there. There you go. Wait a minute, I gotta call you all, I guess.
Oh.
Yamdu.
Aviva Basha.
Aviva Bashabat.
David
David.
Shifra Slafa.
The Shifra.
Shifra Slafa.
Shifra Shaf.
David Ben Tom.
David Ben.
Tom.
Tom.
Esther bat
Miriam bat.
Beshmuel.
Shmuel bat Miriam. Tanagila bat. Abraham Matzara. Moshe ben Abraham Matzara. Revi'i. Now I gotta find it again. There we go. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. Vaya. Abrachem et yadei. Takimu et abanim ha'ele. Asher anachi mitzaveh etchem ayom b'char ha'ibal v'sadata otam basi uvanito sham mizbeach l'Adonai Elohecha mizbach avonim lo tinif aleim barzel avanim shleimot tivneh et Mizbach Adonai Elohecha v'halito lav olot l'Adonai Elohecha v'zabachta shlamim v'ochalta sham ושמחת לפני אדוני אלוהיך, וכתבת על אבנים את כל דברי התורה הזאת באר היטב.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay, you guys go over here. We are going to go back a little bit in our Torah reading, rereading a couple of sentences because the aliyah following this one contains a bunch of curses, and it's our tradition not to interrupt the curses so we can get through them as quickly as we can. So we are continuing on page 1145 at verse 6. It's up in here somewhere. We should start. Is that it?
No. It's all in here, so no teeth.
Oh, yeah. Right? Is that it? What's that? Where's the
It's right there.
Oh, okay. There we go. All right. You next, Doctor? Yamod. Chaim Elia. Ben. Leib HaLevi. Golda. Chamishi, right? Yeah, you're number 5, right? Yeah. Okay, here you go, Doc. Okay, do the blessing.
Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Barak Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher barak banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
One night from it again. Yeah. Avanim shlemot tivnei et mizbach Adonai Elohecha v'halita olav olah l'Adonai Elohecha bezavachat shlemim v'achalat shem v'shamachata lifnei Adonai Elohecha v'chatavta ha'avanim et kol divrei haTorah hazot
Ba'er No. He takes over.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We pause to offer Mishbera for those who are ill. When I'm done with the list of names I have here on the bima, those of you who may wish to name additional people should stand, and I'll sort of point to you. You can call out their name. That way we don't gather needlessly in this COVID. Yishaberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak Yaakov, Bimatenu Sarah Rivka Rachel V'Leah, Uvarech V'Rapeh at Hacholim, Chava Sarah Bat Basha Upinchas, Razel Bat Rose, Bonnie Agner, Betty Ossoff Hannigan, Dov Moshe Ben Chaya Rachel Avraham, Raphael Yom Tov Ben Chava Sarah, Ira Gershon, Chaim Shmuel, Jacqueline Martinez, Mirna Kivitz, Terry Kerr, Mirit Bat Miriam, Rita Haas, Aaron Ben Chaya Golda, Ralph Peters, Dan Shaw, Naftali Ben Zev, Jill Bessinger Baisley, Arnie Tenenbaum, Margalit Katie Duhigg, Ronnie Gonzalez, Sharon Thunhill, Carla Bates, Aidela Rachel Bat Eto Umeir. The others? Alehem lachzikem rapotem lishlach lahem me'rav refuah shlema min hashamayim refuat hanefesh v'gat guf betok sha'ar kolei Yisrael v'hazek et yedei haskom hatzkim b'tzarchechem Shabbat ki lizok urfa'ah bravo lavo hashtab elav yisman kariv nomar. Amen. The tribes were to divide and stand on Mount Gerizim and Mount Ebal, and here the Levites remind them of the curses for various wrongdoings. Interestingly enough, if you want to look it up, it was, I think, in the New York Times this week, an article that came from Mount Gerizim in Israel about the Last Samaritans who still exist in the land of Israel. So it's an interesting article if you want to try to find it in the New York Times this week, and relates to the Torah today, 3,000 years later. Page 1146 at verse 11. What happened to my man? There you go. Yamdu, Keter ben Shmuel, Deborah, Miriam, Rivka, Bat, Chaya v'Yaakov, Shishit. Okay. Doctor, you want to hold this for this young man? I want to show your spot to the... Okay. Did I go to the wrong place? Were you starting to get south?
Yeah, that's south.
Oops. You were right, Jonah. We missed it. Okay, my mistake. I stopped Jonah a little too soon. My mistake. You can read it in the Hebrew or in the English. In any case, we're starting on verse 11. Stuck if there's lightning.
Baruch hu et Adonai hambarach.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen.
Vayetzav Moshe et ha'am vayom hahu lemor ele ya'amdu levarech et ha'am al har Gerizim ve'ovrehem et ha'yarden Shimon ve'Levi v'Yehuda ve'Yisachar ve'Yosef u'Binyamin ve'ele ya'amdu al ha'klala b'har Eval Reuven Gad ve'Asher u'Zvulun Dan ve'Naftali ve'Anun ha'Levi'im ve'amru El kol ish Yisrael kol ram arur ha'ish asher ya'aseh fesel u'matecha to'avat Adonai maseh yedeh harat v'sam basater ve'anu kol ha'am ve'ameru amen. Arur makle aviv ve'imo ve'amar kol ha'am amen. Arur masig gvul re'ehu ve'amar kol ha'am amen. Arur mashkeh iver badarach ve'amar kol ha'am amen. Arur mateh mishpat ger yatom ve'almana Ve'amar kol ha'am, amen. Arur shochet, Arur shochet im eshet aviv, ki gilat tanach aviv. Ve'amar kol ha'am, amen. Arur shochet im kol behema, ve'amar kol ha'am, amen. Arur shochet im eshet im achoto bat aviv o bat ve'amar kol ha'am, amen. Arur shochet im chontato ve'amar kol ha'am, amen. Arur ma'aseh re'echu v'sater ve'amar kol ha'am, amen. Arur lokeach shochad lahakot nefesh dam naki ve'amar kol ha'am, amen. Arur asher lo yakim et divrei haTorah hazot la'asot otam ve'amar kol ha'am, amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata b'tofenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yamod Hamar Mitzvah Yaakov ben Keter v'Miriam Rivka Shvi'i. For the seventh honor, we call very proudly upon our bar mitzvah, Jonah Gutow. The reading is found on page 1148 at verse 1. Yeah, take your towel. Wait. Who's in your towel there? There you go. Take it and kiss it up there. Do you want this stand out here a little bit? There you are. Gotta do the blessing first.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher baruch banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ve'haya
im shamoach tishma b'kol Adonai Elohecha lishmor la'asot et kol mitzvotav asher anochi mitzavcha hayom untancha Adonai Elohecha elyon al kol goyei haaretz Uva'u alecha kol habrachot ha'eleh v'hisiucha ki tishma b'kol Adonai Elohecha Baruch atah ba'ir u'baruch atah b'sadeh Baruch privitnecha ufri admatcha ufri vehentecha shegar alafecha ve'ashtarot sonecha Baruch tan'acha u'mishartecha Baruch atah b'fo'echa u'baruch atah b'zeitecha.
Okay, take your towels and kiss there. Close enough.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan v'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Okay. Got more work to do.
Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Yamad Ibrahim Shem Yamliach Malchuteh.
B'chayekonu yomekon u'chayedecho Beit Yisrael. Bagala u'bizman karib mimeru. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Le'omei Omaya Yitbarach
Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yishramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yijaleh v'yitalal Shmei Kedusha Le'elon Rehober Atah v'shirata
Tushkechata v'nechemata Damiran v'yalma v'meru. Amen. You may now throw the candy.
Ow! Oh my God!
We now invite all the young people up to get the candy for us, please.
Yeah, we need you, clean up crew. You know, for candies basically made out of jelly, they hurt a lot more than they might seem.
I got Jolly Ranchers thrown at my face.
Oh my dear Lord, that must
Okay.
hurt a lot. Yeah, it did. I got it.
Okay, I think we got it.
I don't know what to do with this. Eat it. I don't want to.
Okay. All righty. Thank you all for cleaning up so well. We turn now to our Mafter Torah reading, which is on page 1148 at verse 1. Yes, this is a repetition. This time I'm not making a mistake. It's generally a repetition because we've technically completed our reading with the seventh person. Now we go back sort of an extra in case our Mafter person happens to be a Kohen or a Levi, at least by ancient tradition. And this way there's an extra honor and they can do the Haftorah. Page 1148 at verse 1. Where did she go? Oh. Tamar. Baharav Daniel. Shira. Maftir. Okay. Right there. Just walk over here, Mike. Marty, just walk over here. Don't make it so hard. There he goes.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim ונתן לנו את תורתו, ברוך אתה אדוני, נותן התורה.
Okay, Jonah.
והיה אם שמוע תשמע בקול אדוני אלוהיך לשמור לעשות את כל מצוותיו אשר אנוכי מצווך היום ונתנך אדוני אלוהיך עליון על כל גויי הארץ ובאו עליך כל הברכות האלה והשיגוך כי תשמע בקול אדוני אלוהיך ברוך אתה בעיר וברוך אתה בשדה ברוך פרי בטנך ופרי אמתך ופרי בהמתך שגר על אפיך ועשרות שונאיך ברוך תנאך ומשארתך ברוך אתה בבואך וברוך אתה בצאתך.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת בחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Who's Galila? Who's the rapper? Yamod, Yamod. Abraham ben Abraham Hapa Yamod. Huh? Mark. Can I give your name? Moshe ben Yisrael, Galit Golel. Please rise. This is a little full of power. Lift down, lift it up. Vizot HaTorah Asher Samoshe Livnei Bnei Israel. Just down over there. Donai Liad Donai. Down with the Torah. They'll help you wrap it, okay?
Are the Haftarah blessings?
Huh?
Are the Haftarah blessings?
I don't know.
I can do it.
You've got three words. You've got the red book. You may be seated. Our Haftorah this morning, the Haftorot are a series of additional readings that come from the prophets or from the writings. In this case, from Isaiah. It's the sixth of the special Haftorot that are chanted between Tisha B'Av, the most sorrowful day in the Jewish calendar, and Rosh Hashanah, one of the more joyous days. God's glory, Isaiah tells us, will bring a great redemption, and Israel as a people and as a country will rise again. Our Haftorah for this morning is found beginning on page 1161.
You gonna stand up here with me? You don't have to. Are you standing up here with me?
I'm not doing anything.
You're gonna sit. Okay.
Just here.
All right. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nviim tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hanemarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abocher b'Torah u'v'Moshe avdo u'v'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'ei ha'emet v'tzedek. Kumi uri kiva orech v'chavod Adonai alayich zarach ki hine choshech yichaseh eretz v'rafel le'umim v'alayich yizrach Adonai uchvodo alayich yera'eh v'halchu goyim la'orech umlachim l'noga zarchech si saviv einayich ve'uri kulam nikbetzu ba'ulach banayich merachok yavo'u uvnotayich al tzad te'amana az tir'i v'nahart ufachad v'rachav uvavech ki yehafech alayich amon yam chel goyim yavou lach shifat gemalim techasech bichri midyan va'efa chulam mishva yavou zahav uvona yisa'u utilot Adonai yivaseru kol tzon kedar yikbetzu lach ele nevayot yishartune yalu al ratzon mizbechi uveit tifarti afaer mi ele ka'at ufena uchyonim al arubo tehem kilim yikavu ve'aniyot tarshish barishona lavi banayich merachok kaspam uzhavam itam l'shem Adonai Elohayich ulikdosh Yisrael ki fe'arach uvanu b'nei nechar chomotayich uvmalchehem yishartunech ki biktfi hikitich uvirtzoni richantich ufitchu sharich tamid yomam v'layla lo yisageru levi alayich el goyim umalchehem nehugim. Ki hagoy hamamlacha asher lo yavduch yo bevedu v'hagoyim charav yecheravu kavod halvanon elayich yavo berush tidhar ut ashur yachtav Lefaer mekom mikdashi umekom raglai achabed vehalchu a'elayich shachoach b'nei ma'anayich vehishtachavu al kapot raglayich kol mena'atzayich v'karu lecha Ir Adonai Tzion Kadosh Yisrael Tachat Heyotech Atzuva Usnua Ve'ein Over Usamtich Lagaon Olam Misostor Vador Vayakant Chalev Goyim Vasod Malachim Tinaki Vayadati Ki Ani Adonai Moshiach Begoalech Avir Yaakov Tachano Hanechoshet Avizav V'tachat habarzel avi chesef V'tachat haitzim nechoshet V'tachat havanim barzel V'samachti peku datech shalom V'nog sayech tzedakah Lo yishma od chamas be'artzecha Shod v'shever bigvulayich v'karata Yeshua v'chomotayich u'sharayich tehila lo yelach od hashemesh leor yomam u'noga hayareach lo yair lach Vayalach Adonai leor olam Velohayach letifartech Lo yavo od shimshech Virechech lo yeasef Ki Adonai yelach leor olam Vishamlu Yemei avlech Ve'amech kulam tzedakим leolam yirshu aretz netzer mata'u maseh yedei lehitpa'er hakaton yeh la'elef ve'hatzair legoyei atzum V'ani Adonai b'ta'achi seshena Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam tzur kol haolamim tzadik b'chol hadorot ha'el ha'neman omer v'yoseh hamdaber umkayem shechol dvarav emet v'tzedek neman atahu Adonai Eloheinu v'nemanim devarecha v'davar echad midvarecha chor lo yashuv rekam ki al melech neman v'rachaman atah Baruch atah Adonai Ha'el neman bechol dvarav Rachem al Tzion ki v'tchayenu v'la'alu v'nefesh toshia b'mheira b'yameinu Baruch atah Adonai Mesamech Tzion b'vaneha Samchenu Adonai Eloheinu b'Eliyahu hanavi avdecha uv'malchut Beit David Mashiachecha b'mheira yavo v'yagel libenu al kiso lo yeshev zar v'lo yinchalu od acherim ekvodo ki b'shem kodshecha nishbata lo shelo yichbeni ra le'lam va'ed Baruch atah Adonai Magen David Al HaTorah v'al Avodah v'al Anviim v'al Yom HaShabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod ultifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lach umevarchim otach yitbarach shimcha befi kochai tamid leolam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
All right, we call forward those who are going to assist us in English readings, Jeremy and Jane Harris and Michelle Vespa. We turn back in our Siddurim to page our prayer books, the little less read one and the smaller one. Some people are picking up your Bibles, so you don't have to worry about them anymore. We turn to page 177. Jonah will lead us in a prayer for our country. And then we will have a prayer for the state of Israel led by Jeremy and Jane, and then Michelle will lead us in a prayer for peace.
Our God and God of our ancestors, with mercy, accept our prayer on behalf of our country and its government. Pour out your blessing upon this land, upon its inhabitants, upon its leaders, its judges, officers, and officials who faithfully devote themselves to the needs of the public. Help them understand the rules of justice you have decreed, so that peace and security, happiness and freedom will never depart from our land. Adonai, God whose spirit is in all creatures, we pray that your spirit be awakened from within all the inhabitants of our land. Uproot from our hearts hatred and malice, jealousy and strife. Plant love and companionship, peace and friendship among the many peoples and faiths who dwell in our nation. Grant us the knowledge to judge justly, the wisdom to act with compassion, and the understanding and courage to root out poverty from our hand. May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all people to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. For all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say, Amen.
A prayer for the state of Israel. Avinu Shabbat Shamayim, stronghold and redeemer of the people Israel. Bless the state of Israel, that it may be the beginning of our redemption. Shield it with your love. Spread over it the shelter of your peace. Guide its leaders and advisors with your light and your truth.
Help them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Deliver them. Crown their efforts with triumph. Bless the land with peace and its inhabitants with lasting joy.
And let us say, Amen.
A prayer for peace. May we see the day when war and bloodshed cease, when a great peace will embrace the whole world. That threatened nation and the human family will not again know war. For all who live on earth shall realize, we have not come into being to hate or to destroy. We have come into being to praise, to labor, and to love. Come back to God, bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion. Fulfill the promise conveyed in Scripture. I will bring peace to the land, and you shall lie down, and no one shall terrify you. I will rid the land of its peace, and it shall not be ravaged by war. Let justice and righteousness flow like a mighty stream. Let God's peace fill the earth as the waters fill the sea. And let us say, Amen.
We turn to page 181, and Jonah will lead us in the responsive chanting of Ashrei.
Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yahalu chasela. Tehillah David, Armin Chal Hai HaMelech, V'achar Shimcha Le'olam Ba'ed. Gadol Adonai Mulal Me'od, V'liduato En Cheker. Chadar Kavod Hodecha, V'divrei Nifotecha Asicha. Zecharav Tuchayabiu, Tzidkatka Yernenu. Tov Adonai Lakol, Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav. Kevod Melchotcha Yomeru, Uvrotcha Yidaberu. Malchutcha Malchut Kol Olamim, Umem Shaltocha Bechol Dor Vador. Einei Kol Achai Saberu, Vatana Ten Lochem Et Oklam Beito. Tzadik Anai Bechol Drachav, V'chassid Bechol Maasav. Ritzon Yureav Ya'aseh, Ve'ed Shavatam Yishma V'yoshiem. Tehillat Adonai Daber Pi, V'rak Sharshim Kinshod Elam Va'ed. Va'anachnu Nevarech Ya, Ve'ata Ve'ad Olam. Hallelujah.
We need his muscles. We rise and return to the service, returning the Sefer Torah to the Ark, page 183. Wait a second, Father gets the Torah.
Yehalelu et Shem Adonai, ki nistav Shemo levado.
Hodo. You may be seated. Jonah is going to offer us words of analysis of the Torah reading for this morning, and then we will make some presentations to Jonah, and we ask that you stay with us and give us your attention so that we might do our very best possible job. Take a nice deep breath. Take your time.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm Jonah, and I've been studying my Torah portion, Tavo, to put together this Devar Torah, which is, for those of you who don't know, an analysis of the Torah portion I just read. To start, I'd like to thank Rabbi Dov, Rabbi Flicker, and all my Hebrew school teachers for teaching me everything that I did during this service, my mom and dad for their endless support and belief in me, everyone who came up and led a part of the service, all my friends who I know have my back, and everyone else who I forgot to mention that's helped me work towards this day. I'd also like to thank Kate and Max, my amazing brother and sister, whom I'm so lucky to have, usually, and everyone who's traveled in person and on Zoom to celebrate with me. Thank you for your efforts. In this Parshat, Tavo, Moses instructs the people of Israel, when you enter the land that God is giving to you as your country, and you settle it and grow plants in it, bring the first fruits of your grove to the temple, and declare your gratefulness for all that God has done for you. Tavo also includes the laws of the charities given to the Levites and to the poor people of Israel, and detailed instructions on how to proclaim the blessings and the curses in the portion. Moses informs the people that they are God's chosen people, so they, in turn, have chosen God. Recently, I've been concerned with the rules. Why do we do what we do during Jewish holidays? What is the point of having a policy limiting freedom for children? Why does my school need to assign so much homework? My Parsha, Tavo, is all about rules. So many rules, and punishment for when you don't follow them. However, while most people, considering my recent interest in the rules, will try to figure out what the rules mean, I was interested in a different line. As soon as I heard about the so-called illegal immigrants unable to obtain refugee status because corruption and violence doesn't count as a reason to get refugee status apparently, I was angry. There was no logical reason that they should have to be engaged in a full-on war in order to get solace. The line that caught my attention was none other than the famous line, Arami Oved Avi. This line is to be said by people at the annual first fruits sacrifice to Adonai. During this sacrifice, all people were required to go to the holy temple to sacrifice the first fruits of the crop and to donate 1/10 of the harvest to the poor and the Levites every third year. It has been translated in many different ways throughout the years. Most commonly, as you have probably heard it, or not, it's interpreted to mean, my father was a fugitive Aramean. I believe that the father talked about in this line is a refugee. When the people say this line, they refer to the father of Israel, but this could be interpreted in many ways. Does it refer to Abraham, who is the first monotheist person in the world? Does it refer to Jacob, who is called Israel, he who wrestled with God, after he refused to follow God blindly and instead questioned God's decisions? Possibly it refers to Joseph, who went to Egypt and helped Israel become numerous. This has been hotly debated for centuries by many famous scholars. There goes one bottle. Even then, some scholars and their followers insist that Arami Oved Avi means not that the Aramean was the father of Israel, but that it instead means an Aramean sought to destroy my father. It seems in this case that the people that say this line are theorizing that Laban, Jacob's employer for 20 years, might have intended to destroy Jacob. This theory makes a bit of sense, seeing how Jacob took both of Laban's daughters as wives, and now it seems that Jacob is the most likely candidate for being the father talked about in the other interpretation of the line. Sorry. But still, it goes deeper. Rashbam, a noted scholar, claims that it is not talking about Abraham, Jacob, or Joseph. Instead, it refers to the individual's father, or more precisely, forefather being talked about. Indeed, the line says, my father was a fugitive Aramean. It does not say our father, nor does it say their father. In this case, the declaration is highly personal, saying, my father was a fugitive Aramean, and my father suffered at the hands of the Egyptians. This fits with the Passover tradition of saying, I was a slave in Egypt, and God brought me out with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. In both of these lines, there's one thing in common. We are relating ourselves to the past and saying our ancestors were there, and while they certainly were, we are encouraged to reflect as if we were too. Every Passover, we attempt to simulate what our lives would be like as we escaped Egypt. Perhaps that is what the people did during the first fruit sacrifice. In fact, in the portion, it says that you should treat the stranger in your land with respect. I agree with Rashbam for one reason. We are a community. We all live on the same planet, breathe the same air, and have the same body structure. More specifically, all the people here in the sanctuary and on Zoom today are a community. We all have one thing in common. From the smallest baby here to the oldest person, we are all human, and many of us Jews. As Jews, we all walked the same path, stepping over boundaries. Our parents were fugitive Arameans, but we are much more. Alone, we are descendants of the man who lived in Canaan so many years ago. Together, we are a group that can't be silenced. So many have tried and failed to destroy us, and we survived. And now we can help others going through the same thing. I mentioned my opinion about the people being denied refugee status earlier. For my Mitzvah project, I worked with kids who were refugees and immigrants at the University of New Mexico Refugee and Immigrant Wellbeing Project, a project dedicated to making sure that refugees in New Mexico can adapt well to our culture, and I taught them a bit about American culture. I taught them about stuff like what we were doing here, the Bar Mitzvah. We had a discussion about coming of age ceremonies, and they explained things to me while I explained stuff to them. It was a step towards equality, since we learned more about each other and discovered that humans, no matter from where, are the same. It made a difference only to 5 or so kids, but we can all work towards that stardust equality. What is one step by a small group of teens can become a stampede of goodwill when we all do it together. So I urge you, help those who are fugitive Arameans. Work for a better future, one step at a time. When you see someone who needs help, don't just stand there. To help them, you are helping them along the way to being freed from their own personal Egypt. So now there's only one more question. Why does homework still exist?
You know, Jonah, this has been quite an interesting journey for you. You've had 2 rabbis, several tutors, remote learning, a pandemic, a renewed virus surge, masks again, and numerous other challenges. And yet, here you stand, having successfully led our services last night, read 2 aliyot this morning, and are preparing to lead us in Musaf in just a moment. Certainly not one's usual bar mitzvah year. And all of us know how quite an impressive job you've done. We're proud of your determination, your self-drive, and most importantly, from my perspective, the joy with which you prepared for today. You've overcome a great deal to shine brightly last night and this morning, and we're so very pleased. And we all pray that your experiences in preparing for today will be a foundation for wonderful successes in the year and years ahead. And now I ask that your grandparents, your sister and brother and parents rise and share in the Shehachianu prayer as we thank God for the blessings of this special day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehachianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu la'azman hazeh.
Blessed are you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, for granting us life, sustaining us, and bringing us to this special day.
You may be seated, and your parents come forward to say a few words to you. Nice job. You did great. You're ready to run for office.
Jonah, I'm going to keep this short and sweet because we both know if I talk too long, I'll start sobbing. So I just want to tell you that you really did us proud today. You were named for my father and your father's grandfather. And both of those men were known for their humor, their creativity, their commitment to Judaism and family, their ethical standards, and their intellectual curiosity. We see that in you every single day. We know that they would be so proud of you living on their traditions, their personality characteristics, and their values, just like we are so proud of you.
Jonah, I'm going to have to read this because I don't quite have the stage presence that you do. Mom and I just want to say how proud we are of you at this moment of your bar mitzvah. You've worked so hard over the last few years, and while there have been some grumbles about practice at times, for the most part you have tackled your preparation with enthusiasm that I, at least, could not have mustered for my bar mitzvah, or did not muster, I should say. I was struck how just a few weeks ago you stated that you were actually enjoying the practice and what you were learning. I will always remember the moment you were born. Here was our brand new baby, but you weren't breathing, you were kind of blue, and you were rushed off to the NICU before Mom and I could even say hello. I was so scared at that moment, but you quickly persevered and were reunited with us within a few hours. That feels like a metaphor for so much of your life. You approach new activities or work cautiously at first, but fully invested in completing the task to the best of your ability. You are always willing to try new things and see them through to the end, even if you don't enjoy it. You seem to tackle challenges and plug away at them with quiet determination until you are satisfied with the end results. The last few years have been quite challenging between being stuck at home, starting online school almost at the same time that you started middle school, and studying for your bar mitzvah. It has certainly not been smooth all the time, but you have accepted the challenges and rolled with the punches. As you enter your Jewish adulthood, we hope that you continue to develop your intellectual curiosity, desire to help others, and sense of justice, which we just heard from you a few minutes ago. Most of all, however, I wish that you find happiness throughout your life and find someone to share your life with who makes you as happy as your mom makes me and our whole family. We are so proud of your accomplishments and cannot wait to see your next chapter. I love you so much.
Not that hard.
They're running out of chances, so they got to keep them when they can. We now have a presentation from the Sisterhood being represented by Judy Sherman.
Jonah, you've done a marvelous job. I can see all your hard work and your effort and your study has gone into this. This is a Tanakh, which is a Jewish Bible. It's one more thing to help you continue your studies. And we wish you so much success. You've shown you're such a hard worker. So congratulations, and you've done super.
Thank you.
Give you a hug. And now the Men's Club President, Jimmy Tron, will give you a presentation.
Wonderful job, Jonah. Congratulations. And I just want to say that, for me, your message really touched my heart for a few reasons. One is that my family and I were refugees that came out of the Vietnam conflict. And so when I was a little boy, I came here, and what you said really made me feel like if somebody like you had stood up for that, that situation, it would have been good for me and why I'm here today. And so I'm really glad to see that you are thinking deeply and really, and that's one of the things I noticed about you is that you do think deeply and you're asking the right questions and you're asking hard questions, and that's important. Now, one thing that I would like to bestow upon you is just a thought on it, and that is to look at every situation in more than one perspective. And it's good that your anger, got you motivated and took action, which you did, and I'm glad that you were able to experience, the experience you had, with the other refugee children and so forth. And so kudos for you. So keep up the good work on that. And so on behalf of the Men's Club, we would like to bestow upon you, the membership to the Men's Club, and which will give you all the rights and privileges, And we also have a gift for you. Oh, wait, the rights and privileges, well, doesn't include the beer, but you got your water, so you'll be fine. But your dad is welcome to come join us when we make the beer, and we will be making beer for Hanukkah this year, so you're welcome to come join us for that. But anyway, here's your gift from the Men's Club. No, actually, I have some. Here, this is for you.
Thank you.
All right, congratulations.
Now the president of the synagogue, Ellen Satch, will present you with your certificate of bar mitzvah.
Here you go, Jonah. This is the certificate signed by Rabbi Flicker and myself from the synagogue. It's nice and big. You can frame it if you want. Here you go. And I just want to say, unless we were in New Orleans, nothing else could go wrong. Your parents and I have had quite an interesting ride getting this bar mitzvah off the ground. And I know where you get your perseverance from, because planning a bar mitzvah is hard enough, but planning one with all these interruptions is really amazing that we all did it. And so congratulations for just making it here and just doing an amazing job. When I was walking around, people were just complimenting you. So Mazel Tov to your whole family, to your grandparents, especially to your parents and your siblings, and to you.
Okay, go have a seat for a moment. You can eat the orange if you want.
Okay.
One of the amazing aspects of Torah is that time and again, hear this text that's 2,500 years old, on that particular Shabbat, covers a topic that's in the news or on our minds. And as Jonah pointed out, here this week, it reminds us that we were wandering Arameans, that we were refugees. And anybody who knows Jewish history knows we've been refugees time and time and time again. And now all of a sudden, all over the news, we see literally tens of thousands of refugees coming from Afghanistan. Many of them had supported our troops for the last 20 years, interpreters, cooks, cleaners, so on and so forth. And as Jonah pointed out, we have a responsibility to assist those who are refugees today. And while, he had a few refugees to deal with a few weeks ago or months ago, now we're going to have thousands. And we have that opportunity also to help refugees. There are numerous agencies in Albuquerque that are preparing now to accept refugees. We know that there are already some at Fort Bliss. There are going to be more at Fort Bliss and some at Holloman Air Force Base. Surely they're going to be coming to Albuquerque. There are communities all over the country preparing. National Jewish organizations such as HIAS, the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, is now working with partners in San Francisco and Chicago along the East Coast and so on. So do a little research. Decide where you would like to send your money. The Federation sent out a notice about giving to Lutheran Family Services. I'm sure Catholic Family Services are going to do things. All sorts of agencies will be assisting. Mindy, I'm sure, has some information if you want to bother her some point later. Let her enjoy today. But in any case, let's put our gifts, our money, our thoughts where the Torah reminds us this week that we were once wandering Arameans. We have been refugees. Let us help others that are coming to this country in that status today. We turn back in our Sidurim. Jonah comes forward to lead us. The Chatzi Kaddish on page 184. Okay.
All right, sorry. Yitkadash, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah. Velma divrach yirtev yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon u'yomechon u'chayecho beit Yisrael. V'pa'ar v'shomam v'naseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitala shmer kusha le'elam b'chol birchata v'shirata
Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran dialma v'meru. We rise for the Musaf Hamidah for the devotion found additionally because it is Shabbat. We will begin together out loud with Jonah on pages 185 through the Kedusha on page 187, and then continue silently, providing you your opportunity to offer your own prayers to God. Turn and face the earth. Jonah concludes the Musaf with the Kaddish Shalem on page 203.
If you're still doubting, please continue doing that. Father, life is my career, Amen. Please Brock, we Shabbat, we put arbiter Mamina say, please to Darby to Levy to Lashme Kudasha, Layla, Miko, Berkata, Bashira, Tatu, Shbahata, Venimata, Damiram, Belma, Amen. Teach Gabriel, Slave of Holy, Holy Israel, the Ramu, Rishana, Amen. Yehesh Larabi Shemaya, Vachayim, Aleva, Kosra, Imeru. Amen. Ose Shalom, Yimama, Huya Ase Shalom, Aleva, Kosra, Elva, Imeru.
Amen. We turn to page 204. We call Katie Gutow up to the Bima to lead us in Ein Kelohim. There you go, Miss. Oh, you're going to come also?
And also Max.
Please rise. We turn to page 205 for the Aleinu. Leinu l'shabeach Adon Rachol, Leinu ha'yotzer b'reshit, Shalom atzanu yoyeh ha'ratzon, Shalom samanu b'kavod ha'adama, Shalom samanu b'Yisrael, Ve'gor aleinu b'Yehovah Hamoram, Tavi Gorim, And I got to come after him. During the past week, we remembered the art sites of Richard Williams, Josephine Trolet, Abe Bergman, Rose Silberman, Ellen Reber, Elizabeth Thompson, Morris Jacob Pitkovsky, Zona Faye Cottrell, Harry Lindver, Raina Perez, Ruth Pollack, Morris William Macklin, Gerald Sirlin, and Maury Bobrick. Mourners and those observing yahrzeit rise for the Mourner's Kaddish on page 207. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah v'yalmad yivarach yiruteh v'yamlich ma'huteh v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayeh dechol beit Yisrael v'agala u'v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'le'meo maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shomei dekudusha richu ve'la min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata v'amiran v'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'ya'kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'ya'kol Yisrael v'imru amen. For announcements, our President, Alan Sachs.
Shabbat Shalom. And very briefly, tonight is Selichot, which kind of opens the High Holy Day season. And the community Selichot is going to be here this evening. And it is also online if you don't feel comfortable coming in person. So hope to see you either here or online. And I noticed there are some little snacks for you to take on your way out in case you can't make it home to lunch without a banana and some water. So please feel free to take those. Shabbat Shalom.
Please join Katie, Max, and Jonah as they lead us in a Don Olam on page 211. I guess they really want that banana. We call forward Frederica and Mitchell Weiner. We turn to page 77. Max and Katie, you can stay here too. On page 77, and we share in Vishamru, Kiddush, and Motzi. Get us started, Mr. Jonah. Vishamru, Bnai Israel, Shabbat, berit olam. Beinu uvein Bnei Israel, oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru Bnei Israel et Shabbat, Masot et Shabbat, berit olam. Sheshet Yamim, Asa Adonai, et Hashamayim v'et haaretz, v'shamru Bnei Israel et Shabbat, Masot et Shabbat, berit olam. Ubayom hashvi, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, v'shamru Bnei Israel et Shabbat, Masot et Shabbat, berit olam. Okay.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'gafen.
Amen. Okay, let's see.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Shabbat shalom. Mazel Tov. Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys want some grape juice? Yeah? Grape Okay.